365 days a year, we humans wake up, put clothes on, and carry on with our day, with little knowledge of how our clothes were made or how the colors were obtained. I want you to look down at your clothes and look at what you're wearing. And then look at what the person beside you is wearing. What do you like about it? Is it the color, the fabric, the prints? Well, what if I told you that our skin is the largest organ of our body, and the clothes we wear daily contain chemicals that get absorbed by them? But imagine if clothes could nurture and treat our skin. After all, that's how it was before. Let me take you back to a time when it wasn't chemicals that were being used to color the clothes we wear. Less than 200 years ago, all clothes were naturally dyed. Take a second and think about that. This implies that in the time of our ancestors, plants that flourished nearby were used to dye clothes. The history of natural dye dates back to the year 2600 BC, when natural dye pigments were found in China and later on found in Egypt. In the 2600 BC, there were numerous different natural dyes available, such as madder, which produced various colors of red, saffron, which produced yellow, and indigo, which most people are familiar with and produces blue. These colors were used for more than 3,000 years and were natural, non-chemical, and healthy for our skin. One of the oldest and most important natural dyes in the world was Tyrian purple, also known as royal or imperial purple, which was used to dye clothes and fabrics in the 16th century by the Phoenicians. Tyrian purple came from the mucus of several species of murex snails and is one of the most expensive dyes in the world. Tyrian purple symbolized wealth, prosperity, and power for those who wore this color, such as Cleopatra, whose favorite color was purple. Phoenicia is located along the eastern Mediterranean of Lebanon and is known to have been where Tyrian purple was created. Additionally, the Greek word Phoenicia, which means purple. But let me bring you a little later to when synthetic dyes came to life. In 1856, 18-year-old William Henry Perkins accidentally discovered the first synthetic dye while attempting to synthesize the chemical quinine, which aids in the treatment of malaria. However, he was left with a vibrant, rich fuchsia purple dye, and as a result, the entire fashion industry changed. Clothes that were naturally colored vanished, were forgotten, and were replaced with synthetic dyes in every color imaginable. However, this doesn't mean that everything was perfect. The textile industry had significant negative effects towards the environment. Rivers began to get contaminated as harmful chemicals were dumped into them, changing the color of the rivers and utterly ruining the environment as well as our health. Like every country, Indonesia faces environmental issues, and one of the most visible is plastic pollution. But what if I told you that Indonesia has one of the most polluted rivers in the world because of the textile dye industry? The Citarum River is one of the most polluted rivers in the world. It's located in Indonesia, Java, and is 270 kilometers in length. Over 1,000 textile industries dump all their toxic waste in this river, making it harmful for the people living there. The Citarum River is vital to the residents. 35 million people rely on this river since it's the only water source they have access to, which means they use it for drinking, cooking, and bathing. Because of the type of dye used by the factories, the river color changes every day depending on the dyes the factories will dump. But why? If synthetic dyes are harming the environment and affecting others, then why can't we just use natural dyes? This connects to SDG 12, which aims to ensure responsible consumption and production patterns. Yes, synthetic dyes are cheaper and can last longer, but natural dyes are ethically much safer for both the customers and the environment. I learned to knit when I was 6 years old, and I immediately fell in love with it. I loved visiting the yarn store with my grandmother and admiring all the gorgeous colors that were heaped on each shelf. Still, eventually, I began to wonder how these colors were formed or if these colors were sustainable for the environment. That's when I started learning more about the negative effects synthetic dyes has towards the environment and towards our skin and health. After a few years, I discovered natural dye, an amazing way to make your own colors with plants and fruits to obtain amazing natural colors in a variety of shades. What had initially started as a learning curve turned into something I was passionate about and wanted to experiment on more. After learning and brainstorming so much about the textile dyeing industry, I came to the conclusion on my actual project. My project was going to focus on dyeing yarn naturally to knit clothes to donate to the Knit for Kids Foundation. This foundation is meant for knitters around the world to knit an item of clothing for kids who live in poverty and deserve to be able to wear nice clothes. I was certain from my quest I wanted to act on a cause I was passionate about in order to enhance the well-being of young children who deserve to be able to dress themselves in ways that will make them feel joyful. But let me talk to you more about what I did. My initial plan for my quest was to dye yarn with plants that were well known in Bali, such as butterfly pea, rosella, frangipani. However, after some trial and error, I encountered some problems with the dye not adhering to yarn properly and washing off. So I decided to dye my yarn with plants and fruits that would stain and create vibrant colors. After 2 months of dyeing yarn and knitting, I was eventually able to create 6 pieces of clothing to donate. Here are the knitted pieces I made. In total, I was able to dye with turmeric, beetroot, grapes, and dragon fruit, and knit 6 pieces of clothing to donate to the Knit for Kids Foundation. Throughout my quest, I was introduced to Ibu Ayu, the head of the Taman Permata Hati Bali Orphan Center. I was truly grateful to be able to get the opportunity to teach the teenagers there how to knit with my naturally dyed yarn and teach them the basics of knitting. It was an amazing experience to be able to share my passion with teenagers around my age that have never got the chance to learn how to knit. Here's a short video I made about the teenagers in the orphan center. I'm very proud that I was able to accomplish my goals of knitting clothes to donate to the Knit for Kids Foundation, teaching the teenagers in the Bali Orphan Center how to knit, and hopefully reminding people about the detrimental effects the clothing we wear daily have on the environment, but as well as our health. Lastly, being able to share about natural dyes, what started it all and eventually became something we forgot. So next time you buy a piece of clothing, be conscious about what that piece of clothing could be doing to our health and the environment. Before I end this speech, I would like to share an inspiring quote from Jane Goodall. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make. I would like to take this time to give a big thank you to everyone who is supporting me on my quest, especially Ibu Angie, who has supported my quest since the beginning, Ibu Puri, who is my speech mentor and helped me deliver my speech. I would also like to thank all my friends that have supported me. And lastly, my parents and sister for supporting me until the end of my journey. Thank you.